series, we're going to go over a quick fundamentals of the Americana. So we have shoulder rotations, we have the hand in the upper position, that is our Americana, and when the hand is in the lower position, that is our Kimura. So Americana, Kimura. So ultimately, when we talk about the fundamentals of the technique, the fundamentals are not how we do it. The fundamentals are like, what is the Americana, so that regardless of what grips we use, we know that they're all going to follow basically the same principles. So ultimately speaking, what we're looking at is when my hand goes into that upper position, and you can feel it for yourself. When my hand is here, okay, some people, they'll be a little bit more flexible. Their hand, when the hand goes behind the shoulder, into the negative space behind, you'll feel the shoulder itself start to lock up. Okay? And that's ultimately what we're going to be attacking. We're going to go after the range of motion in the shoulder. So you can also experiment yourself. If I put my hand up higher in the air, okay, how far back does my hand go? If I bring my elbow down tighter to my body, now how far back does your hand go? So those that know my high elbow theory, or when it comes to Kimura, so high elbow theory says when you put your hand in the down position for Kimura, the higher the elbow position, the less rotation is required out of the shoulder. So we're extending that now into Americana. Americana says the lower the elbow, again, the less rotation is going to be required out of the shoulder to create the same lock. So if I'm working with Matt, what we're going to do from here is we're going to use a real basic. I'm just going to skip right to the end, okay, and then we can go over a quick how to get there. But we want to work on what is the end of the position. So from here, we're just using side control. My left hand is going to go right at his wrist. I want to go roughly about a 50-50, okay? So my pinky and my ring finger are roughly on the palm of his hand, and my index finger is roughly on his wrist. And notice I'm using a monkey paw over the top, okay? From here, we put our hand out to the side. The elbow has this nice little shelf. You can come in from this side, okay? But in most instances, if we just go down here, my hand will slip under because of that little shelf. And I'm going to go into another monkey paw. You notice my hands are thumbs together and over the top. So for myself, when I'm here, when I slip my hand in, okay, I roll my hand here, almost like a 2-on-1, and then I cover into my own hand. This helps me for a brief moment to push his hand to the ground. I want his pinky to make a connection, okay? So I flare my hands to push his hands to the ground, and then I come back and lock onto my own hands. From here, we want to get rid of all the extra slack. So this elbow by his head, I want to pull it in to the side of his head, okay? Now, from here, I'm going to make sure that pinky is touching the ground and my pinky is touching the ground. Okay. Now from here, I'm going to take this pinky. I'm also going to roll it over the top. Now this is where the tension is going to get in really tight. When I take my right elbow and I pull that elbow in towards Matt's ribs, that's going to bring his elbow into that low elbow position, and that's probably where I'm going to get my tap. Okay, so I'm going to start pulling that elbow in tight to his ribs, okay, and then he's just tapped with his foot. So if for some reason, watch what happens, if I put his pinky up in the air, okay, and I put my pinky down, watch how much further it goes. Pinky down, pinky up. Okay, so you can tell from here, there is a significant difference between pinky down and pinky up. Pinky down, he will lock out faster. Pinky up, the arm is able to go into a much greater rotation. So now, let's say for some reason, Matt was really flexible and my elbow was able to make it all the way back here to his hip, okay? Tight up against his side and all the way back to his hip, okay? I'm releasing the tension on his arm because Matt was not that flexible and it's not gonna happen, okay? So now from here, when my hands are locked up, I'm gonna continue to keep his pinky on the ground and I'm going to pick up my elbow like I'm gonna slide it all the way to the top of his belly button, okay? And what that's gonna do is, that's gonna continue my rotation, it's gonna keep his pinky down, and it's gonna bring him into that position. So ultimately, what we're looking at through here is, because his hand cannot go through the floor any deeper than it is, I can't get to the negative space behind his shoulder. So how we make up for that difference is we go into the low elbow and then his elbow lifts up. That's how we're creating the negative space for the hand to go into. Now, if, for some reason, if I was here, but Matt came up onto his side, you can see through here, his hand is up. Now I can actually press his hand into the negative space, okay, and get the same result. But we have to do that extra tension in the traditional or basic Americana because the floor becomes the limiting factor. I can't go deeper than the floor. If not, I would just hit it from there. So that is the basics. We're going over the fundamentals of the Americana. We're isolating the shoulder, isolating the wrist, and then we are manipulating the elbow to create our tension. So ultimately speaking, we know we have the basic symbol of Jiu-Jitsu is the triangle. So in most cases, we're always looking at 3 points of general connection, okay? And so in this instance, if I'm pushed down, I'm lifting up, okay? Again, we're always getting our opposing pressures. So if in some of those instances, I was able to go push down, or push down, lift up, push down, even when I had him in this position, my 2 opposing pressures to create the rotation, okay? So ultimately what we end up with is one pressure for control, 1 pressure to isolate the opposite of the joint, and 1 pressure to go into the opposite to create 2 opposing forces to create the lock. So hopefully that helps you guys out with your Americana.